Good morning, grade 2. So now today's video we are going to learn about the earth. We live on the earth. It is our home. We also know that it is a planet. The shape of the earth is round like a ball. And the earth goes round the sun and gets its light and heat from it. And as we all know, the earth is made up of land and water. There is more water on earth than land. As you can see in the picture, the earth consists of 70% of the water and only 30% of the land. And children, the earth has air all around it, which is called the atmosphere. And a small model of the earth is called a globe. So children, let's learn the natural and the physical features on the surface of the earth. It is divided into landforms and water bodies. As you can see in the picture, plains, hills, mountains, plateaus, desert are the landforms, and rivers, lakes, sea and oceans are the water bodies. Now let's begin with the landforms, that is hills and mountains. So let's learn the difference between the hills and the mountains, okay? Hills are made of rocks and usually have very fine weather all year round, whereas high hills are called mountains. It is usually very cold in the mountains. The tip is called its peak. The peak of high mountains are covered with snow. And the highest mountain in the world is Mount Everest. And children, when the peak of the snow melts, most rivers are formed. Understood? And the lowland between hills or mountains is called a valley, like our very own famous Yumthang Valley. You know, children, thick forest cover valleys, okay? Now moving on to the plains. Plains are flat lands and most famous cities of India are in the plains. It is usually hot in summer and cold in winter. And you know what, children? Crops grow well here. Now let's move on to plateau and let's see what it looks like. Oh, it looks like a table. When a highland is flat at the top and looks like a tabletop, it forms a plateau. That's why it is also known as a tableland. Now, deserts. Deserts are large areas of land that are dry and usually covered with sand. It has very little water, so only a few plants like cactus grow in the desert. The camel is a useful animal in the desert as it can stay without water for many days. Understood? So these were the landforms on the surface of the earth. Now moving on to the water bodies. Water is present on the earth in many forms. It gets circulated on the earth as rain. Rainwater is the cleanest form of fresh water. Okay, so moving on to river and lakes, as I told you that when the snow melts on the mountains, it comes down to the plains as a river. So river water is not salty and is also known as fresh water. Okay, and sometimes water collects in a large hollow forming a lake, just like Changu Lake, right? And when water falls from a great height, it forms a waterfall. Now let's learn about the seas and oceans. A sea is a large body of water. Sea water is salty and cannot be used for drinking and cooking purposes, and even the ocean water. Okay? And oceans are the largest bodies of water. Understood? So children, that was all about the water bodies. So I hope you all understood about the landforms and the water bodies and the surface of the earth. Right? So children, we must take a good care of our Mother Earth just as it takes care of us by giving us food, water, air and sunlight. Right? So we must keep it clean and healthy. Okay? Thank you, children.